So next we have is the debate.
You're going to see it run two ways. If you have the luxury of a third facilitator, they can act as your moderator. It's also a great opportunity if it is there's somebody in the class who you want to really incorporate into it. They can be the moderator.
Yeah.
It also does, makes them more engaged in the class as well. If you don't have either one of those things, this can be run with just two people debating each other without that moderator role. But basically we'll have two. In this case, it'll be John and I, people debating each other. And depending on time and where you're at in the class, you can either debate an advocacy issue that has been already talked about or that the class itself is working on. But if we have the time, really like to start with just something random and goofy that they come up with. Could be, we've debated chocolate, versus vanilla, chunky versus smooth, peanut butter, dogs versus cats. The reason we incorporate these activities into the toolkit is we're trying to, get at those things in a way that's engaging and fun. Because over and over again, that's proven to be the best learning style, rather than just delivering information. If people can associate it with a good time and something positive, they're more likely to be able to replicate. And then you go through the three basic types of communication we try to get through are passive communication. So the first round will be delivering an argument in a passive way. So say John, what's a good topic for us today?
I think a good topic for us today would be Lego Batman versus regular Batman.
Okay, Lego Batman versus regular Batman.
Yeah.
I will be the side of Lego Batman. John will be taking Batman and delivering in a passive way. I could say, John, I think Lego Batman is better, I guess. I haven't seen a lot of the regular ones, but I just feel the color, it's more colorful.
Michael, I like what you said, but I have to disagree with you and say that the regular Batman from the 1960s is the best and only Batman. It shows real male body types and what it is like to work as a superhero.
Passive communication. Then you go on to, we jump right over assertive for now and go to aggressive. Because part of what you're trying to get at is you want a balance of passive and aggressive and really aim for that like Jedi mode of like calm, assertive communication. So that's usually the last. So after every round, throwing it to the students and saying, okay, what was effective or what was not effective with that form of communication? So with passive, you talked really softly, or your message wasn't really clear, stuff like that.
You didn't make eye contact, yeah.
So aggressive communication. John, I just saw the Lego Batman, and it was the best movie ever, and if you say anything bad about it, or suggest that stupid, rated R, just violent movie is any better than Lego Batman, I will stomp out of this room because you are wrong.
I'd like to say, Michael, you're wrong. And you've always been wrong. Because the 1960s Batman is the best Batman, that's just a simple fact. When they made it into a cinematic masterpiece back in 1965 with the Robin and 4 villains, that's what made it a great photo or cinematic picture.
So aggressive communication, what's effective about that? Loud voices, points that weren't well thought out or even true for that matter. And the number one thing that we usually like to point out, and the students will get at, is one thing when you're aggressively communicating that you're not doing is listening. I wasn't listening to John when he made his argument.
I didn't hear what you said either, no.
You were waiting for me to pause so you could say what you wanted to say anyway, and that's what I was doing for you too. Unfortunately, and maybe how this our representatives debate, but not something we want to replicate in our training. And finally, assertive. So, John, I'll let you go first on this one.
Michael, I'd like to thank you for having me here today. I would like to first of all stress the importance of the 1960s Batman. It created the prototype for Batmans that we have today, the Tim Burton films, Christopher Nolan's. It basically opened the door for endless cinematic pictures, and therefore it should be measured as the best Batman ever.
John. I'd like to thank my colleague John, both for being here today and his clearly very well versed on the subject of Batman. But I respectfully disagree. I think rather than the 1960s Batman or any live action, the Lego Batman is far superior, both in its ability to appeal to a larger audience and add humor without, without focusing on the violence, and the crime that the live action versions do. I think it's just, takes a great story and makes it appeal to a larger audience. Okay, so that was Assertive. So hopefully, if John and I have done our jobs, we delivered that final one in a very clear way, while being respectful. Again, just going back to Name Symphony, we said our names, we acknowledged the other person by saying their name in this instance, and we made our points were very clear. We made it personal to ourselves, and without putting down or insulting the person that we're debating.
Welcome everybody to the first in our series of debates on pie versus cake. For our first round, we're going to try to take a more passive stance in our way of speaking, and we're going to throw to Mike for his argument.
I'm happy to be here today. You probably couldn't find anyone else, but I'm here to talk about pie. I would be pro pie, I guess. Really, I'm just happy if somebody gives me something on my birthday, but pie, I guess pie, if I had to choose.
All right, that was lovely. Thank you, Michael. And we're going to throw to John for a counter argument.
Hi, thanks, Maddie. I just want to say that cake is the best thing ever, and I feel that it will kind of always be the best thing ever. And if you've never had frosting, you should. And cake.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you, John. All right, so that was the end of our first round. Thank you to both our participants.
What do we notice then?
What worked, what didn't work with passive communication?
And you guys don't have to answer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. Okay. It's just what we say. And I love Steven. Okay. And the next round.
All right, welcome everybody to the next round of our series of debates on
Pie versus cake.
pie versus cake.
And it's aggression.
And we're going to demonstrate an aggressive style of speaking. This time we're going to throw to Mike for our opening statement.
Okay, John, if that's even your name, I'm here to tell you why pie it will always be superior to cake. Because you know what? What's the universal language? Math. Math, that's a fact. What is included in math? What's included in equations? There's no symbol for cake, but there is a symbol for pie. And a pie can be sweet, and it can be savory, and I hate your shirt.
Thank you, Michael. Calm down just a little bit. We're going to throw to John for our counter argument.
I want you to disregard everything that Michael has just said. To begin with, cake is the number one thing, always will be the number one thing. To begin with, it has frosting, sprinkles, anything you can imagine you can put on a cake because that's how awesome it is.
All right, thank you to both our participants for a lively debate. So for our third round of debates on pie and cake, we're going to take a more assertive stance, not necessarily aggressive, but just assertive in our way of speaking. We're going to throw to Mike for our opening statement.
Yes, and at first I'd like to thank you, Maddie, for hosting the event, and everybody here for being a part of this healthy discussion. I am Michael Beers, and I am here to explain why I believe that pie is superior to cake. I think it's a more versatile food. It can be savory as well as sweet. It can be very easy to prepare, but it can also be one of those family traditions that is passed down from generation to generation. And finally, I believe it to be more economically and environmentally friendly because the ingredients themselves can be locally based and change with the seasons. whatever fresh in the garden can be incorporated in either a sweet or a savory pie as the seasons change.
All right, thank you, Michael. That was very well put. We're gonna go to John Howard for our.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Michael. You make some great points. My name is John, and I have to say that I actually would say that cake is the best thing. Cake is not only fluffier, it has frosting. It's a little bit, you can put sprinkles on it, as well as it's very complimentary with ice cream, and it makes for a great birthday dish.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your very well put and eloquent debate today.